welcome to Between Two Coaches. We're on a mission to make fitness more human. Snark sold separately. I'm Coach Amanda, and I'm joined as always by my co-host,
Coach Nick. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great episode today and a special guest who is a friend of the podcast and a friend of ours, co-host of the amazing Miles with Moms podcast. It's Shanna Birchett.
Hey
I
guys,
think I did it right.
Thanks for having us here.
Close. Thanks for joining us, Shanna. Amanda's laughing because I think
gave it a TH. This is not difficult. It's like you're like Birchett. It's like she's French and from Spain. It was not necessary what you
nailed it. And today we're talking about the topic, it's never too late to do something for yourselves. And we're going to dive into Shanna's journey with running and chat about how as coaches we can be aware of all this stuff and how we can make a difference. But before we do all that, Shanna, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep my tone under control because Nick likes to snark on me on that.
Or not, you better turn the volume up on your tone.
Listen, guys. No, just kidding. Yeah, hey, I'm Shanna Birchett. I am a mom to 6 kids. I started my Instagram page, Motherhood_running, in 2022. Yeah, I've been running my whole life since a really young age. Loved the sport. And, I thought I'd be one of those people that went off, did it collegiately, and then beyond that. And that's not what happened. As a lot of you that follow me know, I had 6 kids in 6 years, which is its own marathon training. So yeah. But yeah, so I spent a lot of my 20s just having babies and trying to survive life. I can't say I'm floating yet. I think I'm still like just barely above water still, but we're getting there. I'm trying to think like what is important to share with you guys. Yeah, my oldest is 9, my youngest is 3, which is crazy to think that I'm out of the baby phase officially. I don't really call it postpartum running anymore for anybody that's curious. Like, I feel like 2 and above, like you shouldn't be calling it postpartum running, but that's just my take.
Like that you refer to your child as like 2 years and above, and I didn't have to do math or long division. I'm like, enough. Like, what? Don't make me do math. Tell me how old the kid is, okay?
My daughter's
great.
9.
Almost 2, also great.
Well, her oldest is 108 months, so...
Right. It's like, could you imagine if we as adults did that? I am 500 months, whatever, and some change. Like, wild, man. Yeah, I stopped counting after like 18 months. I think that's like the appropriate time to stop with the months.
That's fair. I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Right.
Nick, how old are you turning on Thursday?
Oh, let's see. 40 times 10 is 430 plus another 86. So 516 months.
There you go.
I think that's right. I'm gonna fact check myself real quick with a little calculator. 43 times 12. Oh, I'm dead on. I like math. I'm good. Look at me.
Shanna, why don't you also tell everyone, like, where do you live? What do you do outside of being a mom and running?
Yeah. So, shoot, I don't really like to claim Utah, but that's where I live right now. I'm originally from California, so I like to claim that. I moved here. My husband was from Utah, and he also doesn't really like to claim Utah, but, this is where we settled. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful state. We love doing outdoors stuff. We love all the 4 seasons. We're on the hotter end of Utah now. We're in southern Utah, so pretty much Arizona border is what you can claim us as. But yeah, I'm a big like outdoors type person. Like I love hiking. I love getting out with my kids. I love traveling, national parks. Like we like to take our kids out to those types of places. And then beyond that, beyond running, I'm like just a chauffeur, like a chauffeur. And then like my nickname says professional butt wiper. Like that is my focus right now in life. So yeah, nothing super exciting going on over here beyond that. So.
And a professional voice note sender.
Yes.
She's really good at that.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate that. The voice note is elite. It turns into a podcast though real quick.
Yeah, you get your own podcast.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, that is great. I one time I took your whole voice notes out in a run and got a whole run done. It was like 43. It was like 43 minutes or something.
He's lying. He only went for a 10-minute run. No, just kidding.
Doesn't surprise me. Very nice, Nick. So, all right. So, enough about you, Miss Birchett.
Yeah.
Nick, why don't you have some exciting things, not only your 518th month birthday. But what else you got going on in the near future?
Yeah, my week was great. So I did my last long run before Boston. Well, I'll do one more, but it'll be really short. So we're on our way. It's like 13 days from today. So super excited. Bringing the whole family up. So it'll be fun. We're driving. So it'll be 8 hours of family time in a car. We're stopping in New Jersey on the way up. So a little bit of a reprieve for a day. But on the way back, it'll be an adventure. But excited. We're doing a webinar with Elizabeth tonight on Boston. So I was doing my course preview write up, and I was like getting psyched up watching like videos of the course again, remembering and getting pretty excited for all that. So that'll be fun. Went to a kite festival. I didn't know it's a thing, but flying kites, kids were loving it. So that was like a fun weekend activity. Yeah, and just a big week in my life. So have a big decision coming up, more to come, but gonna figure out what's going on in the world of Nick and work. So that's a teaser that won't be answered today.
Maybe behind a paywall. Maybe.
Or be on here too eventually. But yes.
No paywall needed. He's going to share in his professional journey with all of us.
Yeah.
You're going to announce it here before you
Before I even tell my work. Yeah, before I even tell my work, I'll just start here. They'll hear about it when they listen.
It's good. It's not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Very good. And this is, how many times have you done Boston?
This will be my third.
That's cool.
Yeah. Last time I did it was 2017. So it's been a bit. Excited. They did it back in the days when people just ran and they didn't have an e-bike crew or a drone following them or like a F-22 bomber following them, any of that stuff. It just, you just ran. You probably didn't even bring your phone with you. You definitely didn't take it out.
Yeah.
So it'll be a new Boston experience running through everyone's videos of themselves. Because I'm going to start in I don't want to call it the influencer wave, but wave 4, where, various people are in that wave. And I'm pretty sure we'll be running through every type of video I can imagine.
How do you know that that's the influencer wave?
I think it's where they put people who are either, if you haven't qualified in some way or another, right? I think they put you in wave 4, and that's not only influencers, charity, Abbott 6-star people, things like that. But I think in any way, if you haven't have a qualifying time, I think you start in wave 4. That's my understanding. So I didn't want to there's no insulting of influencers. It's just sort of saying you haven't.
No. You can, some of them should be insulted, but others should not. Not because of their face, for other reasons.
This isn't a take on who deserves a spot. Everyone, if you get in, you get in. I don't really care.
Yes.
But I'm just saying this wave will be more heavy on the filming, I think.
Yeah. No, that's fine. No, that's fine. This is a safe space for every pace, every runner, especially charity runners who do an incredible thing and enjoy running. And we love that.
Yeah.
But
love that.
We do not love putting other runners at risk because you need to get yourself in. We don't love that. This is not a safe space for that. All right, cool. All right, so this will be your third.
Yeah.
This will be your third. Great. And you have some big things to finish out the month of April. And I think we're bringing it up to speed.
Yeah. How about you, Amanda? How was your week?
Well, my husband came back today and then he'll leave again. I know. I'm not.
Oh, thank God he's leaving again.
Thank goodness. Yeah. I'm very happy for him. I'm very happy for him professionally. I love that he's getting to do what he loves and he gets to travel a little bit more. Husband Nick, works in events. And so I'm very happy for him. I'm also very happy for me. We love time by myself. I don't have 6 kids. I don't have 1 kid. So it's always nice to be by myself. What else? My taxes will be done this week.
Let's go. Well, they have to be. They're due.
Yep. And what else will be this week? Some nice things professionally are going to be probably announced in the next week or so.
Live here too.
Might be here too. Yep. Some a pretty large brand asked me to support them in creating a program for strength and mobility to pair with a running program. And I'm very much looking forward to sharing it. I was not allowed to share it yet. It's been announced for signups, which is awesome, but I'm looking forward to being able to share it more with the greater good.
That's exciting. Kate Spade is going to be so excited to have you.
Spade.
It's ironic you brought that up. My best friend is the director of Stuart Weitzman, and she used to be at Kate Spade. So she's probably not happy that you just said that. She's like, what is he doing? What is he talking about? Yeah.
I just thought it was the right vibe for you.
Kate Spade?
Yeah.
The amount of Kate Spade bags I have that go unused cannot be understated. So I'm looking forward to sharing that because it's a program that I feel really passionately about, and I worked with another podcast guest, Cindy Kuzma, on. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing about it.
Yes.
And we are proud of you.
Thank you very much. I'm proud of me too.
Should we ask Shanna about her week? She looks like she ran around a track a little bit.
We don't need to talk about that.
Well, we're going to dive into that. We are going to talk because we're going to talk about that throughout our conversation today. Nick, do you want to start with? We haven't done a grievance in a while.
It's a light grievance, but it's yes. We're going to talk about it because it is Shanna lives in the. Yeah, it's a hot topic, and Shanna lives in the land of downhill. And for those of you who don't know, we're going to talk about a little bit about this sort of topic. I think we've talked about it a little bit, but we have Shanna here, and it's been all over threads, and I think it's just good to retouch. So Mount Charleston was last weekend, and it is a hot topic race among the running community because it is like 5,000 plus feet downhill. It also starts at like 8,000 feet. So altitude for those who live at sea level it's a big deal. But that aside, it seems like there's a lot of people who have opinions about whether downhill races count, whether they should qualify for Boston, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it'd be good to share our thoughts about it and, just go around it. And I can start. And so, my feelings about downhill racing are, I don't care. Like, so downhill race is a downhill race, right? So you still have to run it. You still have to train for it. But I'll give you my perspective from a coach, which is if my athletes want to do a downhill race, I'm always encouraging. I'm like, yeah, sure, do it. That sounds fun. Like, go after it, chase it, get a big time, chase a big goal. But I always caveat as we go after the race is over, and if we run well, my just point is, hey guys, this is a great result. If you say you run Mount Charleston, it's 5,000 feet downhill, and then they want to go run Boston, or they want to go run a course with some hills or some even flat Chicago. Let's not take the time you ran at Mount Charleston and go, okay, I'm going to go 10 minutes faster than that at a race that is a very different course. Sometimes we'll just say, hey, well, this is our PR. This is great. We can add downhill in front of it if we want. We don't have to. But as we set paces for future races, we're not just going to assume that what you did on a 5,000 foot downhill race is something you can handle on a flat course, a rolling course, or even in your training going forward, because you're just setting yourself up sort of for failure, for all your workouts to go terribly, and then to feel like you've lost progress when you literally haven't.
I just want to very quickly add before we move forward that I don't have strong opinions about downhill racing, but I will say that as a running coach, I want everyone to I think it's important to acknowledge that just because a race isn't downhill doesn't mean it's easy on the body. And I think that that's very important to this conversation. It doesn't mean it's easy on you physically. So that's what I just want to say there.
Yeah, it's a great point. You do have to train for it. You can't just show up and be like, oh, I can run 5,000 feet downhill and my body's perfectly ready. So it's a great point, Amanda. That's why you're here. Shanna, what do you think?
They freaking suck. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I totally I see the side of being in Utah and being that's literally 90% of the races here are downhill races. You're dropping minimum 2,500 feet. That's a normal standard course out here for the marathon distance. and even for a lot of halves, which is crazy. And then it goes up to like Mount Charleston. You got your Revel races. You got Big Bear. That's not very far from here. You have Big Cottonwood, which is up northern Utah. That's like another 4,000 plus foot drop. And it's really hard from somebody that left the running scene, never ran or heard of a downhill course or a race or anything, and then moving to Utah and being exposed to a lot of runner influencers on Instagram and seeing these phenomenal fast times, and you're like aspiring to be like them, and they're sharing you know, these very incredible stories, right? Like, I came back from a baby 9 months ago and I just ran a BQ on this marathon, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can do it, you know? And you get out there and you start training and you run a course. Mine was Snow Canyon. That was my first half marathon back. Had no idea about the course. I didn't research the course. I didn't look into it. I just signed up for the quickest half marathon course that was available, and to just keep me committed to training. And I signed up, and then I go and run the course, and I'm putting out like 5:30s, and I couldn't even hold a 6:30 for 4 miles straight on an end of a progression run. So that's a big disclaimer, big difference. And I think like after running that downhill course, I realized, I was like, wait a second, like this is the course that these people are getting these times off of, that I'm seeing on their bios, that they're preaching like they're this like 1:14 half marathoner, right? And I'm finding out that it's because they're running these drop courses that are like pretty much rolling them down the hill. It was just, honestly, it was a rude awakening for me. Like, it was a very rude awakening and a humbling moment that I was just like, what is this? Like, this is not transparent. This is not humble. This is a lie. Like, you guys are facades. Like, and so I put on mine downhill course. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to offend a lot of people, but I put on my...
No, I'm just picturing the thumbnail of you, and we're going to put you on a sled. We're going to put you on a sled, and you're just going to be riding down.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm envisioning. You just falling down the hill.
Literally what it is, though. Like, Big Bear, Big Cottonwood, I haven't ran them, but I can see the course, and I can see the times that people are putting out, and you might as well just like roll them down the hill. Like, it's crazy. I'm sorry. But yeah, it really irritated me as a new runner coming back with like these big audacious goals, and then seeing these people run these times that I looked up to and I was inspired by them, and no transparency of, hey, I actually am like a 125 half marathoner, not a 114 half marathoner, like on a flat normal course. That is a big difference. And I think like at the end of the day, like, I'm the same way. I don't care if you race them. I don't care if you love them. I have friends that love them. They will race them. They don't care. But there's some hiccups that I have with it. If you're a coach and you're posting your downhill time and there's no little star next to it that's saying it's a downhill course, you are lying to your athletes, and that's not fair. If you are using it as a qualifier for Boston, I'm not sure how I feel about that either. I'll be honest, because like there's 90% of the US that don't have access to that type of races, and I don't know if that's fair. So,
but the thing is that Boston says that it is, right?
I know.
So it's like, so that's the or rather not the problem. Like, that's a fact. Boston says that it's and this is coming from a person. I'm admittedly not a fan of the Boston Marathon as an organization. Yeah. I've shared my opinions on, I don't think I've shared it on the podcast because I don't care. I'm not trying to give them more publicity. I think there are incredible local races that we can put our funds into and support. I appreciate I don't know how this just became, okay, Amanda's just gonna...
The grievance is everywhere. We're grieving everything.
But it is a point to bring up. Like, it's a really good point. Like, is your downhill race more important than somebody else's flat race, and you both get into the Boston Marathon? Well, Boston Marathon says it's fine. So that's that. And I just wanted to, this is a side note grievance. I take issue with coaches who use their finishing times as a qualification. That's my asterisk issue with, if you hear that and you feel attacked, okay, come through the DM. I'm ready for you.
Yeah, I did a whole thing on Threads about this, and it was very mixed, actually, honestly, of like who thought that mattered and they cared if someone's coach's PR versus who was like, I don't even know. So
it's the same.
I was surprised it was so mixed.
Personal trainers because of their body. Their body is their business card, and I want to work with them because of that. Okay, all right. Well, doesn't really say anything about their skill set, so that's where we're at.
Well, yeah, I think we did this topic good. We went everywhere. We attacked downhill racers, BQs, coaches, society as a whole. We got them all, and that's that bullshit on all those people.
Yeah,
but can I share an example on this? Okay, so like St. George Marathon. Okay, like I've been contemplating going back and forth if I should race this race because it seems like it's like the way into the community. It's like your inauguration. If you don't run St. George Marathon, you're not part of the community. Like they're like, that's the first thing people ask me. Oh, have you done St. George Marathon? I was like, I have no desire to run this local race. Like, why is it so like, I'm like, I don't know. Anyways, so their elite bib, their qualifier is a 255. They count like Big Bear, they count Mount Charleston, all this thing. So I have a friend who I won't say her name because I won't embarrass her on here, but she ran a 257 at CIM, which is a downhill course, right? That's what people claim. But then she can't get in. But these people that run Mount Charleston or Big Bear that are like shaving 10 to 15 minutes off their actual flat course marathon time are allowed to get in. So I emailed them asking how they can, like, how they deal with that discrepancy. When there's somebody that really should get that elite bib, and then there's somebody that's really like 15 minutes slower than this person that's getting in because they ran this downhill course. So that's where I think another
Wait
part.
Wait a second. That we don't want to give them business. Where is this St. George? You're advocating for your friends?
Advocating for my friend.
I know who the friend is. I think I know who the friend is.
Oh, we all do.
We all know who the friend is.
I don't think she would run it. I think she hates it just as much as I do. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So
in this hypothetical,
I just wanted to make it a point to them. Hopefully they never listen to this podcast, but I just want people to like understand like the hypocrisy and this whole stupid thing. Like you're going to let people that run these really downhill times, like 2 months ago, they ran this X time at Mesa, which is a very downhill course still. And then they're going and they're PRing by 10 minutes, like 2 months later, like something is not adding up here. But those are the people that are getting these elite bibs. I don't get it. I'm never going to understand. I'm sorry.
Well, St. George's, you heard it here. We are not happy.
We're naming this episode Fuck St. George's. So we're naming it. And then
we're allowed one F-bomb.
And SEO, we're allowed one.
That's how we say PG-13. I don't know.
We're just making things up.
We make their own rules as we go.
We just make them up.
All right. I think we've grieved enough about grieving. Shall we move on to the... No, that was the grievance.
Moving along in the outline. All right, let's talk about Mrs. Birchett's running journey, how you got into running, and tell us a little bit about that and where you're at now. Talk to us about the break, right? Because we know that there was a hiatus, right? Because you had 30.
We have a bus. Like literally. You literally have a bus. Do you? I thought you just learned on the road. Yeah. Okay. Man, this is like the boring part of the episode now. We should have done this part first. No. Yeah. So on serious note, yeah, I started running when I was 5. So I started at a really young age. I like to make that very transparent on my page because people think, you know, I had this big long break and oh my gosh, like how are you running these times now? And it's like your body doesn't forget paces. Like it's easier to bring back a pace you've done multiple times than it is to run a pace for the first time. And that's what I really want to be transparent with people. Like it is like I'm entering paces I have never hit in my running career and it's hard. Like it is hard. And so I think people need to understand that. But yeah, I grew up doing club running. I traveled like all over the US, like at a pretty competitive age with my club team. And then around 14, I entered the high school scene. I did cross country and track there. I kind of stayed out of track as a younger athlete. My mom just didn't want me to get burnt out with the sport too early on. And then in high school, yeah, I was pretty competitive, had a little bit of a medical scare, like end of my sophomore or my freshman year into my sophomore year, and then kind of picked things back up a little bit more serious, like my senior year of high school. And then, yeah, after that, I went on some like recruiting trips. I didn't really feel comfortable around it, like about the idea for whatever reason, which was really hard as a person that's grown up thinking that they were going to go to college and run collegiate and everything. And so I kind of took a little break from that, decided to walk away from it completely, which I think was the best decision for my life, to be honest. And yeah, met my husband later on, had a bunch of kids, and entered back into the running scene in 2022.
Yeah.
So you entered back in 2022, and you started at what point, at what distance did you start training for? Were you self-coached? How did that look for you?
Oh, wait, real quick. How long was your break about?
So like not training like seriously, like it's been like 11 years. Like it was from pretty much the end of my senior year till 2022. Like I would dabble into it. I guess like people call it hybrid athletes nowadays, like where they're like more strength focused and they were running. I didn't know that was a thing until just recently, but I like was definitely more heavily into like the strength training side of things, like doing a quick lift or a HIIT workout, things like that. Like that was more my focus because I wasn't competing or had any goals like that. And then I would like do running like occasionally, like I'd pick it up and then I wouldn't run for a couple weeks. And then I'd try to go out and run this like 750 pace and I'd die and wouldn't do it for like a month, you know? So that was kind of like my history for the last 11 years. And then in 2022, I picked it up like 6 months postpartum after my sixth kid. And I got on with a coach pretty quick just from the community. There was a local coach that a lot of people were coached by.
Yeah, and to be clear, hybrid athlete's not really a thing. I think is a made-up Instagram term that just started existing the last 5 years. Yeah. It's fine. I mean, it's just a term people want to label themselves with, but like, it's just... Anyway, and we lost Amanda, but we're going to keep rolling. So you know, what I think's interesting is because I had a similar journey where I took 8 years off after college. But when you stopped and came back, like, did you miss it? Is that the reason you came back? Did you think you'd ever come back? Were you worried about like still enjoying it in the future? How did you feel about all that?
Sorry.
That's okay.
One of my twins are picking on each other. So I think so. When I came back into running, like I was 4 months postpartum and we had just moved here to Southern Utah. There was a lot of change. Like I didn't know anybody here. My husband was going through a lot of changes with his job. Like I was kind of like honestly falling into like that postpartum depression. And that was just why I like really wanted to get back out there again. So I picked up strength training again. I would do that like 4 or 5 times a week for like 20 to 30 minutes just out of my house. And once I got that habit back down, I was like, okay, like just for kicks, like I'm curious how far I can run. So I went out and ran an out and back mile, like out a mile, back a mile. Awful. Like you guys, like I didn't run at all my last pregnancy. So I was like so like cardiovascularly out of shape. It was embarrassing. Like it was embarrassing for me because I had grown up running my whole life and I thought I would never be in a place like that where I couldn't run 2 miles like there and back. And I think that was a rude awakening for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like running used to be like so naturally a part of my life. And now I can't even go out for a 2-mile run. Like this is so sad. Like, and so that was why I signed up for Snow Canyon at the time. I was like, what is the fastest, soonest race, but enough far out in advance where I can still like kind of train for it so I can like get to that 13.1 miles. And then it was like 6 months out postpartum is when I finally like got back into running and training under a coach.
Yeah. And so I think what's interesting for what I want to dive into a little bit as a coach is like, when you got your first coach, did they know much of your history with running and like, you know, how much at the competitive level you ran? Because I think what's important for coaches is I think sometimes, and I know a lot of coaches who see fast times, fast runners and think, oh my God, I really want to coach this person because I want to show that I'm coaching a fast person. And like, I want to like these numbers look so fast and it'll be good for me, the coach. And I think sometimes it leads to poor training or overtraining someone for the purposes of the coach kind of pushing their own ego versus that. And I think a lot of times people find this stuff out and they're just like, so you were fast. Now let me push, let me make training even harder. Let me try and get these, these PRs out of you. So like when you got a coach, were they cognizant of it? Did you feel like you were being trained because of your past, or was it like on the same page type of training?
But yeah. So with my coach that I hopped on with at that time, I actually had reached out to her. So I knew a couple ladies that I was running with, and they just all name dropped her. And I was like, okay, like she sounds legit. Like her top athletes are performing really well. They were like known locally here in town. They were always like scoring like top 3 at these races. And so I was like, well, she's doing something, right? Because they're performing well. So yeah, I reached out to her, and I was so new to like the whole like coaching as adults. Like I didn't know like coaches, like adults had coaches. I didn't even know that was a thing. And so for me, I was super excited about that, because I was like, okay, like somebody that could keep me accountable. I can't coach myself. Like I will overdo it, and then I don't even know what I'm doing if I don't have a coach. And so when I hopped on with her, like I was very just new to the whole scene, and I would say like she was very emotionally invested in her athletes, and I really like I would want to talk that up the most high about her, because she was very present. She went over the top with that, and I think that's important, like as a coach, to give to your athletes. I will say, however, like I did have big audacious goals, and I wish she would have pulled me back more versus like lean into that and be like, yeah, we can get you there. Yeah, like you're totally capable of that. Like, heck yeah, David Goggins, like he, like that was the type of mindset mentality that I got from this coaching, was like, go big, go home, and for somebody that like, for most runners, I think that's a very toxic way to approach training for me personally, because I am the go big or go home. Like, if somebody's giving me a workout that they're prescribing me, I believe that they're prescribing it to me because they know I can do it. And so I'm going to go out there and do it. And so there was like workouts, like my 4x1, I was prescribed like sub 6s for those. And this is the first time I've done a workout like this in over 11 years. To give somebody a sub 6 minute mile workout with 60-second rest, it just, I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to bag on like any coaches or anything. It just, looking back, I was like, what the was this person thinking, like doing this to me? And I would walk away from a lot of workouts and like with major anxiety the night before. Like I had so much anxiety for the next day, for the next workout. And it was just like, it was a lot for me. Like, I would come to her and be like, hey, I don't know why I can't hit these paces. I don't know what's wrong with me. And she would just, at one point, it came to the point where she's like, maybe you just can read this David Goggin book and it'll help you mentally. And that was kind of like the turning point for me. I remember just leaving that. And this was, I want to say this is when I came back from an injury from snow canning, because I was being overtrained and I was afraid to admit that. December, I came back from a knee injury, a knee flare up. And then into January, I started this mile training. That was my first go at like, okay, let's see if I can get back to my freshman times. And in these workouts, I couldn't hit the paces because I was not there yet. And instead of this coach telling me like, hey, we need to pull you back, it was like, hey, I don't know why you're not hitting these paces. I'm not sure what's going on, and I took that very personally. I was like, there's something wrong with me. Like maybe I'm just not cut out to be a good runner. Maybe I'm just mentally not strong enough for this. Maybe I lost it all, And so when that comment got brought up that like, hey, maybe you should read a David Goggin books and it can help. And I think she genuinely did mean that in a positive way in her own perspective. For me to hear that was like, I should just quit because I am not cut out for it.
Yeah, no, and that's helpful. And I was going to say, as coaches, just be cognizant of people coming back. It's you can easily overtrain someone, or even put them in places where they can't hit the workouts that they want to, or maybe lose their love of the sport too. So just be cognizant of all that. Go ahead, Amanda.
I was going to say that a coach who prescribes a David Goggins book as a part of their training philosophy should create some pause in an athlete. And so I think that there is a place to be inspired by somebody's work ethic. And there's no doubt that that is the image that David Goggins puts out. However, if that's like a belief system from a coach, I think that we should call that into question, because David Goggins' fitness routine is not a balanced approach.
Yeah.
So sorry, Davey. So sorry. That's it on that. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's great. And yeah, so then so you came back and you're running and you got a coach and you're sort of working through this, and now you're obviously in running in a very different life, right? And so, before it's in high school and the only problems are little high school problems, and now you have 6 kids of various ages. I think some are at this point very young and some are a little older. And so how did you adapt? How did you not compare? And you sort of talked about it a little bit. How did you not compare? How did your training have to change as you worked from one coach to the next? Like, how did all that stuff work and how did you handle it all?
Yeah, like I think I had to embrace that I wasn't the 17-year-old, 18-year-old version of myself that left the sport. Like I was a mom to 6 kids. And I think like when I left that coach and I went on to the coaching that I've had I'm going my 3rd year with this coach, it was like just a rude awakening, because this coach that I'm with now is always reminding me, like, you have 6 kids, like what you're doing is awesome. Like be proud of that, And it was weird because it almost went from like being almost like an excuse that I would have to explain myself that I have 6 kids and that's why I'm training on the treadmill all the time, because sometimes that's all I have an option to now like a coach that was like, I don't care how you show up and how you do it. Like you just guide me in what you want to do next and we'll work through that. And that was a lot different approach than what I had. Again, like this is no knock to any coach and everybody needs something different. But for me, it was like, I needed the coach that was going to pull me back. I needed the coach that said, hey, like, I see your potential. It's just going to take time to get there. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen one training season. And you need to be patient in that. And that was like a very rude awakening for me. I saw paces that I never ran on easy runs in my life, that I was running on easy runs because that's where my fitness was at. I needed to slow down. I needed to work through that foundation again, those basic foundations, because I lost it all after 11 years of inconsistency. And so that was, honestly, that was the biggest turning point for me, was just finally having a coach that allowed me to toss my ego to the side and say, hey, like, this doesn't mean that you're not a tough athlete. This doesn't mean that you can't get to where you want to be, but hey, this is going to be longevity. Like, I want you to be chasing these goals for the next 10 years, not the next year, And yeah, it brought back a lot of joy to my running again. It took a lot of pressure off my training. I remember just like leaving at end of a week at the highest mileage I had seen in years and just being like, why do I feel so good? Like, should I be feeling this good? Like, I don't know if I'm pushing hard enough. Like, something doesn't feel right. And it's like, no, you're actually just training right for once in your whole entire running career,
Yeah. No, that's great. No, I think what coaches can kind of take from that too is, a lot of times they may hear, oh, I need a coach who understands, being a parent and things like that. And there's I'd say the tiniest bit of that is like, okay, maybe someone who's a parent can understand. But, we have Amanda here who isn't a parent, but coaches parents. And like, at the end of the day, have some damn empathy and like, just understand, like, someone has a lot going on in their life. You don't have to understand how to be a parent or be a parent yourself to coach someone who's going through it, but you have to have some level of understanding just to support them and know that they have a lot of stresses and they can't train a certain way, and that's okay. You're acknowledging that while supporting them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, encouraging them to show up how they can. Like it really does make all the difference. Like, especially like, I can't tell you how many moms reach out to me that are like, you train on the treadmill. Like, oh my gosh, it works. Like, I'm like, of course it works. Like, why would it not? Like, it's so mind-boggling to me. But I've been through that type of coaching where, like, I had a coach question, like, why are you always on the treadmill? Are these paces accurate? And I'm like, why would I make that up? Like, and so it's really, really crazy to me that people are exposed to coaching like that, where it's only one type of training or it's one type of style. And like, they try to mold all their athletes into that. I'm like, everybody's like season of life is different. Some people have to commute an hour and back. They don't have time to run at 5 a.m. in the morning,
I was just going to say, before echoing Coach Nick's point, that you don't need to be a parent to have empathy. I find actually also when I'm working with my runners and also my one-on-one clients, because I coach a lot of parents privately, that kids are in the session. In fact, I am the one who's often like, no, your kid, like, let's hit pause. Let's make sure that little Charlie is taken care of, and we'll resume training after. Or, hey, let's add some time to your next training session because I know you had to cut this short because you got to take your kids to the doctor. And I don't know, I find that it doesn't take a lot to acknowledge how much privilege I have as somebody who has unlimited resources to time, and also unlimited resources to a fitness space that is accessible to me all the time, because majority of the time I'm working either out of a gym or I'm within reach of a gym. So anyway, all that to say, you don't need to be a parent to be a mom of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids to recognize that, because I'm guessing a lot of you aren't a mom. Say, hi, little one. To recognize how challenging it is to take time for yourself, and that the time that you have for yourself, wherever you're able to access fitness, is one worth applauding. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, thanks, Amanda. That's perfect. I think that's great. And that's the stuff we're shooting for here as coaches. Yeah, so Shanna, so we're talking, I think this leads into the next part a little bit. So, as a mom training, and your account's called The Mother Runner, and you share a lot of amazing content around that. And you have a podcast literally around this topic. So as you became, as you were doing this second stint and finding your way through running, what were the biggest impacts? And how do you work around, children, and really, and how do you not just work around, but I like to say, how do you include them, right? How do you include them as part of your journey without making them feel like they're something that's hindering your growth? And I don't mean that as a parent myself, I mean that sometimes I can't do something for myself because I'm a parent, when it's really just conversations with your significant other, finding a way, and you have 6 kids, and you have to figure out a way, and you do. And so maybe you can share a little bit of how you find that way to do this, to find that joy for yourself, and to work, with the challenges of being a mom of 6 kids.
Yeah, I think because I had so many years where I did fall victimization of myself in motherhood, I think it was just a humbling experience to see other moms out there doing it before I did it, So when I hopped on here, it was a whole side of I didn't know there was a running influencer world. I didn't know there was a running world where people connected on Instagram. I literally was what is this? This is crazy. But I also followed a lot of people Polly was one of these people that I had first initially started following. She's a mom, and she went through so much to get to where she's at now. But there's just other moms that were out there that I watched from afar for a while, that I was oh my gosh, they're marathon training. How do they marathon train? How do they fit it in? And especially, these working full-time moms or these single moms, how are they making this work? And so it was just it was seeing other people do it first that encouraged me that hey, maybe you can do this too, And then also too, I am not naive to the fact that I do have spouse support. And I know that there are people out there that don't. And so I try to tread this conversation very lightly, because people would beg to have the spouse that I have, the support that he gives me. But he's been very supportive of my running.
If you're listening to this, you shouldn't have to. You should not have to beg. And I'm saying that as I know that's a strong opinion, but
it's true.
It is so challenging for me. And I've worked with people who are considering getting out of relationships for this sole reason, and rightfully so, because it is such a significant part of your life, your mental and your physical health, for you not to have a partner in supporting the child that they had a part in creating. Immediate grounds for dismissal. Okay, that's it. That's right. That's it.
Honestly, that's a very important disclaimer. No, but for real though, it is very unfortunate and sad. I would say a lot of my mom guilt came from myself. It was me feeling I couldn't communicate that with my spouse and be hey, I want this. And then it was the moment I did, it was he was I've never not wanted you to have that, And I was I didn't know that you cared, So I think that comes from me being raised with like a very independent mom who had that mindset of like, go to college, you don't need a man, you know? And so I'm trying to find like that healthy balance of the middle. Like, I love having a man, but he's not like he's not my dependent. Like we equally give each other, you know? But yeah, so he is a big support of everything and vice versa. Like we really do try to bounce time off of each other. Like he's now in a job where he's in the office a lot of hours. And so it's like, okay, he doesn't have early mornings. So let's give him late nights so that he can work out too. And he can hit his goals too. And so I think that communication was a very big thing for me to be able to do what I'm doing right now. And I definitely, we don't take that for granted. Like we're very fortunate that we have that relationship where we have that teamwork. So
yeah, I mean, I talked about this a little bit on your podcast, but like, and we all have trauma, right? Like even as a dad, like I struggle a lot with feeling in my own victimization of myself, like an absentee dad, right? And it shows up in everything. I'm missing softball practice right now, and I feel like the worst dad in the world, right? So, you know, but that comes from my trauma of not really having a dad around growing up and not wanting to fall in those same traps and like taking every situation being like, I'm doing it, right? And so, you know, I think at the end of the day, like there is a piece of us that carries this trauma and then like applies it in our own life. But like you said, having those communications with your significant other or others in your life to just validate that, like, no, you're not being the worst dad in the whole world because you missed a softball practice or you went for a run or you went to a race and missed something over the weekend. Like it's okay to have a place for yourself. And it's also okay then on the flip side to still be there and not like go too far in their direction. Yeah, I think it's just important communications and just, you know, also just dealing with your own trauma and, you know, therapy and those types of things.
You're an icon, Nick.
Oh, you're sweet.
If you haven't listened to the episode sharing about Nick's story and why he is the dad that every dad needs to learn from, listen to that immediately after this one, okay?
yeah.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. I don't know. I don't feel that, but I appreciate people saying nice things.
You could just say thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I gotta learn how to do that. Last thing on this, Shanna, was like, how do you do such a great job of like including your kids in it all? Because I think that's what always shows up for me is like, you know, and it's 6 kids. Like I include 1 or 2 of my kids sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I did it, and you're like, oh, we're driving across the country to Duluth and I'm gonna do a marathon and all 6 kids are coming, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't blame people that don't. Like, if you have the option to go solo, you know, it's probably easier and it's probably a lot cheaper. So, I will put that out there. It is very, very pricey. But I think, you know, for me, it's like I feel less guilt when I have my kids. Like, I like to have my kids at the finish line. I like them to be involved. Like, I love that running is not my sole identity anymore. Like, I never want it to be my sole identity anymore because it was such a toxic, very bad place that I was in at a very young age because it was my sole identity. Like, when your times become what people perceive you as, then that's where it gets really dangerous. And I'm very err on the side of caution when you put times out there. Like, don't allow it to become your all. And so with my kids, like, I like to lean into motherhood more than I do like my running. And at the end of the day, it's like, I'm going to do what I do out there, like whether it's them along with the ride or not. And so I'd rather have my family to like celebrate after, or, you know, cry with after. Even like I've had times where I was not quite happy about a race and I was a little bummed, but you know, the best thing is I get my kids to focus on after that race and I don't have time to mourn about it anymore. So, but yeah, I think I like taking them along. I think it makes it more enjoyable. I feel like it's a great family excuse for a trip. You know, we got to see all sorts of fun things on the way out and on the way back. That's something my kids remember. Some of them, it was their first flight to CIM, their first plane ride, which was really cool.
Aww.
Yeah. But yeah, like I enjoy it, but I also enjoy my early morning runs too, Nick. Like, I like to run by myself when there's nobody around other than my dog and it's really quiet. And then I get to come home to the chaos after. That always is great too. So I enjoy both sides of it, with them and without them.
Yeah, I love that. I think, you know, what I take from that is, you know, is balance, right? You know, I think I talk about balance. We both talk about balance in here a lot, and we talk about it sometimes in the world of like making sure you still do things you enjoy. I talk a lot about like, hey, if you want to hang out with your friends on a Friday night for a long run once in a while, like that's cool. You want to drink during your training block, like that's cool if you enjoy it. Like balance, whatever brings you joy. But I think, as a coach, what you can hear from what you said is like bringing your family around, including your family as part of your journey is what helps you achieve balance, right? And for balance is different for literally everyone. And so it's not always just helping someone find balance by saying, go out with your friends. Maybe they don't want to, but they do have something in their life that helps balance themselves. So running doesn't become this all or nothing thing. And Instagram and social media consume that because people who do make this their jobs or other things, then all of a sudden it becomes this all or nothing thing. And then their running becomes harder because they're putting all this pressure on themselves because now they're a brand themselves. And so without getting down that road, it's just what I hear from you and what coaches can hear is like, help your athletes find their balance too, because they will have a better experience. They will be able to run better when they're balanced, and they will achieve far more PRs balanced than they will all or nothing every single training block, pushing as hard as they can, because when those PRs don't come, you have nothing to fall back on. But like your perfect example here is you had a race that didn't go well, and instead of being devastated by it, your family was there and you went back to parenting and you were happy and you had an experience and you guys drove home and everything was perfectly fine. Not perfectly fine, but like it was easier to deal with the downfall. So, as coaches, help athletes get there and don't push them in a direction to be all in because the goals demand it, air quotes. I didn't do the air quote thingy, but I'm doing it now. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And like embrace their messy process of it, right? Like I've never had a perfect marathon build. I've been sick a couple of times in my marathon builds, and my coach is just like, that's life with kids. Like, thank goodness, he's a parent. He understands. He's like, you know what? Like a couple days off isn't going to kill you over the span of 4 months of training. Like it's really pennies at that point. And so I think a lot of times, like there are some coaches out there that like they have athletes that are shooting for these big audacious goals and they think it has to look this way to get them there. And it's like, not everybody needs that high mileage, crazy 6 days a week, whatever it may be, right? Like, some people can thrive off of less and actually be healthier to get to the start line and enjoy it more than not. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that completely. Like, you have to have balance, especially like as amateur runners. We don't get paid for this. We aren't pro runners. We don't get to put our feet up after a long run like that. My long run is my sanity. And after that, it's just chaos the rest of the day. It's like running to a bunch of different things. So yeah.
Even pro runners have more balance than it seems. Like they get really dedicated for 3 to 4 month period. Yeah. And then they do nothing for 2 months and they're on vacation. Their dedication involves a very specific time frame. And for us, we never stop running as amateurs. We train 12 months out of a year, every year for 12 years straight. That's why if you don't balance that versus like the long breaks professionals take, we just don't see it because they're not posting about it because they're on vacation, not doing their job, right? They're vacationing.
That's such a great point. So true.
That's literally what an off season is. I think that a lot of runners are like, I took an off season. Oh yeah? Yeah, I took 3 days off after my half marathon and then I went into marathon training. It's like, no, that's actually not, you could have sneezed within that time. That's not a season. Come on now. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was great. Shanna, we have some top secret, super secret interview questions for you, if you're ready.
I think.
No, I don't think she needs to be ready. I want her.
Well, you're trying to test my IQ here, Nick. I don't leave people know I'm a goldfish.
There are right answers, so we'll see if you get them. So question the first. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received. There's no perfection in motherhood. Like that is probably the best advice I've received. That's the season I'm in. So like the more you embrace the imperfections, the better and the more enjoyable this process is going to be.
Love that. That's perfect. Just like those phrase. All right. Question the second. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That I'm Christian. It's my mouth, or, I drop a lot of like cuss words, and then my music choice is probably not the most Christian. But yeah, I think when people find out that I'm like pretty Christian and like I have a pretty firm faith, they're like, what? You are? So I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but
it's a good thing.
No, it is. People have their own stereotypes of what people should be like based on religion, beliefs, where you're from, etc. And so any opportunity to remind people that you're human, that's a flex right there. That's a flex. We love that for you.
Yes. So the last question, what's something you wish more people understood? So you can do it either way, about running or about motherhood.
I think what I wish people knew more about like motherhood was that like you can make space for yourself. Like there's no reason why you should feel guilt over that. There should be, like, it is healthy to have space for yourself. It is healthy to have goals and passions, dreams, desires, whatever it may be, outside of being a parent. Like I believe that so strongly. And I wish more people would lean into that, because I think if more women believed that, there would honestly be less postpartum depression. I think a lot of postpartum depression stems from them losing themselves in motherhood to the point that they don't know how to come back. They don't know how to balance it all. They are so invested in pouring into other people and other things that they lose themselves completely. And it's a very scary road. I've been there multiple times. So
amen to that. That is perfect. That's the Shanna, you got 3 for 3. You did it. You got them all right. That's what I had.
IQ just shot through the roof. We love brain growth right on the pod. Mrs. Birchett, if there's anything or anywhere, folks, anything and anywhere, I'm sorry. If there's a place that you prefer people find you, where would it be? How can people reach out to you and let you know that you are incredible? Well, and that they love downhill races.
You could shoot me a Medal Monday. I'd actually prefer that more than telling me how great I am. That makes me feel very awkward. So Medal Mondays, I do Medal Mondays on my Instagram account, and that's just motherhood_running. It is my favorite reason why I have my account. Like seriously, if I didn't do Medal Mondays, I probably would like peace out at this point, because I have
the best hype queen.
But I love it. I love reading them. I started turning into Monday, Tuesday, Medal Mondays, because I just have so many coming in, and I'm like, I want to share these all. But so yeah, if you have anything you want to brag about yourself, come to my page and share your Medal Monday. It could be anything, and I'd be happy to shout it out.
What a mother!
And a co-host. Yes. And you left off co-host of Miles with Moms podcast. So we can also find you there.
Yes, you can. Miles with Moms podcast. We have an Instagram account, and then, we have a podcast on Spotify and Apple.
And YouTube.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a part of it is a part of my weekly treadmill miles.
Yeah, if you can understand what we're saying half the time, huh? The F-bombs and the laughing.
You're in good company. I'm cursing too. I'm not a mom, but I enjoy it very much so. So, well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
And we appreciate you, and everyone listening, we appreciate you. So you know where to find us. Please give us, if you haven't already, a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple. That's how we get more folks finding Between Two Coaches podcast. You can also subscribe to our Patreon, and you can also talk to Nick and I on our respective Instagrams or at betweentwocoaches@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Everyone, have a wonderful week.
Bye.